For more, we speak to political analyst, Professor Bheki Mngomezulu. Prof. Mngomezulu, good evening. Thank you so much for your time. Really do appreciate it. It is quite curious that Senzo Mchunu had relied on the credibility of his long political career to make the claim that he's a credible politician, an honest and transparent politician, that he's never been accused of corruption of any sort. And I remember that Senzo Mchunu rose to national politics quite late into his political career, right? Only around about 2019. Before that, he was seemingly confined to what was considered provincial and regional politics in KwaZulu-Natal. And one of the portfolios that he oversaw was the Department of Water and Sanitation, one of perhaps the most corrupted ministries and departments in the country. And when he took over in 2019, Lindiwe Sisulu was the minister preceding him, and she had just commissioned a forensics audit on wrongdoing and corruption in the department. A damning forensics report came out, and in it, a number of high and senior officials in that department were found to be on the wrong side, and disciplinary processes had begun on the basis of that. And when Senzo Mchunu became the minister there, he was accused at the time of interfering with those disciplinary processes and having stopped a lot of them. Of course, he didn't stay at Water and Sanitation for a very long time. He then moved on to a different portfolio thereafter, which is now police. And that's my only recollection of him having been accused of political interference other than now at the Department of Police. But does the fact of his career sustain the claim that he's always been an upright and upstanding politician?
Good evening, Oliver, and good evening to your viewers. I will speak confidently about Mkhwanazi from my understanding and knowledge of him in KwaZulu-Natal, particularly because apart from him being the secretary in the region and then being the secretary in the province, I interacted with him when he was the premier of KwaZulu-Natal. I remember there was a time, for instance, when he had a project of training the youth across all political formations. I was one of the 4 people he had invited to capacitate the youth, and we're going to have an event at the University of Zululand first. Then the second one was going to be in the Natal Midlands. The third one was going to be in the South Coast. Then the last one was going to be the ICC, that is in Nkosi Albert Luthuli International Convention Center. But then what happened, unfortunately, on the Friday, because the first event was going to happen on a Saturday, then on the Friday, that is when he was the premier, he received a letter giving him an ultimatum that he must resign by 12 o'clock on Monday the following week, to the extent that some were saying that he must abort that exercise because he's on his way out. But he took a firm position saying that I have invited the 4 people and I'm going to go with them to the University of KwaZulu-Natal, and we're with him from the morning until 4 o'clock. So he appeared to me as someone who had good intentions for the province, and then the other positions that he held in the province. Of course, one of the issues I still remember is that when he assumed this position of being the premier, one of the things he realized was that there was some corruption happening. Then he centralized some of the activities in the premier's office, and that did not settle down well with some of his comrades, which in my view is one of the reasons why he was ousted from that position. So from that standpoint then, I would say there is credibility in what he says in saying that previously he has not been involved in any wrongdoing, that is, he has not been on the wrong side of the law. Yeah. That I know, at least from the facts that I've just outlined.
When Nasrec happened the last time around and President Cyril Ramaphosa was contesting for a second term in the ANC, Senzo Mchunu was described and fashioned out as an incredibly important political broker and organizer for Cyril Ramaphosa in KwaZulu-Natal, and that he enjoyed the confidence of many of the regions across the province. Was that true, and is that true today? And more importantly, does that form a strong basis for what could be a launch into a more ambitious drive in national politics? That's to say, potentially becoming the minister, or potentially becoming the president of the ANC or deputy president of the ANC. We've seen him contest in 2017, unsuccessfully so.
You know, Oliver, I'll be honest with you. My view is that what let Mkhwanazi down was his proximity to the president. Not that I have anything against the president, but I'm being honest here. Because you recall that when there was the NTZ on the one side and then the CR17 on the other side, Mkhwanazi was one of those who were clearly on the side of the CR17. And that did not go down well with some within the ANC. That is the main reason, for instance, why he lost against Isma Khashule. Had it not been for that reason, I still believe that Mkhwanazi would have emerged victorious. But because then, by the time they went to the conference, his name had already been tarnished in a way, because if you are against now President Ramaphosa, we were automatically against Mkhwanazi, and then for that reason, he lost the position. And you recall that immediately thereafter, and then when the president assumed the position, then he remembered him, and then he brought him, and then he gave him a ministerial position. Whether that was good or bad for his political career, only history will tell. But I still maintain the position that had he not come out openly on during that time, he would have in fact been on a better position than the one he's currently in.
Yeah.